So here's a question for you. How do you measure your yardages to the green? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it like the professionals. Now, I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking, Mark, what are you on about? We all use a rangefinder, a laser rangefinder. Now, you can pick them up these days for between £200 and £300, probably a little bit cheaper as well, but you kind of get what you pay for, and the poorer quality ones tend to be the lower price ones. And it depends how important it is for you to have that exact yardage to the green. Obviously, other options are things like a GPS watch, even sort of an Apple Watch. You can get apps that will give you measurements from front, middle and back of the green, etc. But in this video, we're going to look at what happens if you don't have any of those things. And actually, that's exactly what the pros do. Those devices are not legal in professional competitions. So how do the pros get their yardages? Well, obviously, they use a yardage book. Now, you might not have one of these for your local course. In fact, your local course may have a course guide that you can pick up in the pro shop. And if so, I'd recommend getting one of those, even if you already use a rangefinder, a laser rangefinder, or a GPS watch or something else. However, I'm going to show you in this video how to make your own yardage book. So my local course or my home course is Pleasington Golf Club, and this is the yardage book that I made for that course to give me the yardages. So let's have a quick look inside. So this is the first hole, and you can see that at the bottom here we've got a green diagram which just shows you the shape of the green, where the bunkers are, where any hazards are around there. We've then got at the bottom here, I don't know if I can move that a little bit closer so you can see it. There we go. We've got the yardages to the green from different points on the fairway, and then sort of a close-up of the hole at the top there you can see. So how did I create these? I'm going to show you now in this video how to do this. You need a few things. You need a computer, you need Google Earth Pro, you need a graphics package. I use Affinity Designer, but lots of them will do the same thing. But let's have a look how you get it done. Hi everyone, so I'm back sat at my computer desk now, and I thought I'd go through with the process just briefly of how I create my yardage books. So let's delve in and have a look. So you can see I've got here Google Earth Pro installed on my machine. Now this is slightly different to the Google Earth that you'll get on the internet, and it allows you to do a few more things which are crucial for creating a yardage book. Now you need to download this. It's a piece of software. It is free, but if you search for Google Earth Pro on Google, then you'll find it no problem. And it's available for Mac and Windows. Obviously I'm on a Mac at this point. So once it loads up, you get this sort of screen on the screen. The first thing we want to do is go to the preferences setting. And oh, I'm not in the right one there. I need to be in Google Earth. Preferences, and you need to make sure in the navigation section that this do not automatically tilt when zooming is turned on, because you don't want the landscape to tilt. You want to be looking at a bird's eye view all the time. So just make sure that that's set on there as well. Then what you can do is click this icon in the top here, which is the ruler, which allows you to measure distances, which obviously for a yardage book is pretty important. And that pops up this ruler box at the bottom here, or you can move it around. It's a floating nav. And you can select what measurements, units, couldn't think of the word, you're going to measure in. So in this case, we're going to measure in yards. If you're from Europe, you might want to measure in meters, etc. So that's what we can do there. So let's set that back to yards. And then what you're going to do is find your golf course in the world. So I'll do my home local course, and that is Pleasington Golf Club. Oops. And there we go. And what happens then is that Google Earth will zoom in on that particular part of the world. Just like that. And then here's the golf course. So we can see here's the golf course. So hole 1 starts when my cursor is here. It goes on to this green. And then you get over the railway here in Pleasington. And this is the other part of the course. And then we come back. So you get the idea of what happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on our first hole. So I can use the mouse to zoom in. So you can see here I've got the tee box on the right hand side and I've got the green on the left. You can also rotate the screen slightly if you want to get it perfectly level. You can zoom in and out with a bit more detail with these buttons, so we'll get them all in play. Now, if this picture isn't very good, because sometimes the point where this photograph was taken, if it was in winter, for example, might have some cloud cover, it might be the grass is very bare and so on, you can use this timeline button here to show historical imagery. So if I click on the timeline, you can see this is from a different time, and it actually tells you the date when this was taken. So this was pretty recent actually. And then you can scroll back in time and it will change the picture to show you the golf course at that point in time. So that's actually quite a nice image there, isn't it? And you can get an idea of the contours, the distances, the bunkers, the trees, the green, etc. You do often get this sort of shadow thing here though, so it's hard to see the green, so you probably want to be aware of that as well. So maybe that's not the best one. Maybe the original one is the best one actually. So if we flip that off, yeah, that's pretty good. You can see the green, you can see the bunkers and everything in play. So once you've found your hole that you want to actually map out, and obviously you want to do this for all of them, you need to take a screenshot of that particular hole and make sure that you include any features in that screenshot that you might want to use in terms of measuring distances to and from. So for example, bunkers, you probably want to measure the distances to the bunkers, from the bunkers to the green. You might want to measure from a specific clump of trees, the distance to the front and back of the green, etc. So I'm going to take a screenshot. Now on a Mac it's Command Shift and 4 to give yourself a little pointer that you can then click and drag. And I'm actually going to grab the hole above and the hole below as well, just to make sure we've got everything in play. I've got the tee box on there as well, on the green and everything. And then I'm going to let go. And that grabs a screenshot and it will store it on my desktop. And what I would do is just put all those into a folder so that you can then use them in a minute to make your plan of the hole. So you do that for every hole on your course using Google Earth, taking a screenshot. And the next point is we can move into your graphics package in order to be able to map out the hole and plan out the features. So we'll do that next. Right, so the next stage is to actually start in the graphics package and making the tracing or the drawing around the different features of each hole before we can finally put on the distances. So let's have a look at that now. So here we are in Infinity Designer, which is the package I use. You could use any sort of vector graphics package for your computer. Even things like Adobe products would do well. I've used Sketch app before on the Mac as well. Those are all sorts of things, but I found Infinity Designer is the one that suits me the best and gives me the best options to deliver this in the best way. So here we go. I've got a little outline here of the whole an artboard added to the package. I'm not going to go into detail about how to use these packages. I'm going to assume that you've already got some knowledge of that, but I'm just going to show you the basics of how you get the whole created. So you'd import your picture into this artboard. So here we've got a whole picture. I can just drag and drop that into there. I've already done that, so I'm just going to show it again, which does that. And I've locked the picture as well, so it can't move about now by just right-clicking and doing a lock, which is there. So then the next stage is to use some of the vector tools. You've got the pen tool over here, and you've got other shapes that you can use to basically map out the different features of this. So I tend to draw the tee boxes on, all of the cart paths, any of the streams and ditches, all the trees, any specific areas of rough that you think are important, and basically any of the features that you'd want to use to be able to mark your distances to and from different things that you want to know. So you may want, for example, to mark on the distances from the tee box to this front bunker and this bunker here. So you need to obviously have those in your design and your plan. Now I've already done this, so if I just show those layers, you can see I've added these things on here. So we've got all these different trees in the tee boxes. Now if I hide the picture again, you can kind of see how we've built up the plan of this particular hole. So you can add whatever you want on here. This is the things I've decided to add in order to make it work for me. Excuse me. And I've also put some slopes on because this is a superb hole at Wiltshire Golf Club, hole 5. It's a short par 3, but very steeply uphill. As you can see, there's lots of slope coming back down towards the tee. The green's up high on a plateau. So I want to mark that onto the diagram so it's clear. Obviously when you stood on the tee, that's fairly clear anyway. So that's how to draw the tracing of the outline of your hole. Now the next stage is to do your distance measuring. So what we want to do is to go back into Google Earth at this point, into Google Earth Pro. So here's the hole on Google Earth Pro, and then I've got the ruler tool activated and I've got it set to yards. and we're on the wrong hole, so let's just find the right hole, which is this one here. So I'm just going to spin it round. Here we go, this is the 5th. So we can take yardages from the very back of the tee. So what I tend to do is the furthest tee away, go from the very back, and all my yardages are from there, and then I can mark on the distances that the tees are in front of that. So we go to the middle of the green, and then we hit, and it tells us that's 170 yards. So then I'm going to come back onto my graphics package here. I've just done some other holes on here, so I'm going to copy one of these markers that I've already done, and I'm going to paste it onto my hole here. There we go. So you can see that I can get a yardage here from the big white dot, the big black dot, sorry, is the yardage to the centre of the green, and then I'm going to yardage to the back and yardage to the front. Now, I'm not actually going to put that on this this whole outline here. I would do maybe if it was a par 4, but I'm not going to do it on this particular one. So we're going to get rid of that. If you can scroll down to the bottom here, you can see I've already done that on the tees. I haven't actually put the yardages on. So this one would be now 170 yards to the centre of the green. And then I do the front yardage and the back yardage and so on. What you can also do, which I found is handy, is you can mark on sections across each hole for distances. So if I go to some of these holes, this is hole 2 at Wiltshire Golf Club, I've got these lines on which mark on the distances from the back of the tee to this particular point. And the reason I've added these on is so that you can then use them in the sort of close-ups to show where that particular yardage is from. So this one here is, you can see, is 185, and I can see by looking at the overview on the left-hand side that that's next to this bunker on the left-hand side. Even though the bunker isn't on this diagram, I can work out where that actually is. You can put as many as you want on here. Now, granted, if your hole doesn't have very many features to map to, such as bunkers on the next hole beside it or specific trees that you can see, then it can be a little bit tricky to get exact yardages. But I found it really useful, even if it's 5 or 6 yards out. It gives you a good indication of where you are on the hole. And then similarly, I've done the same on this particular hole here. So you get a nice overview of the hole layout, the distances to the front, the middle, and the back. From different points on the fairway. Now, if it was a par 5, I'd probably do one of these diagrams so it was distances to maybe 100 yards out, or whatever your favourite number is that you want to be when you're on the fairway and you want to get to a number rather than get into the green itself. So that's how we create those, and then the next stage is to get these into a printed template and then print them out. And I'm going to show you that next. Right, so in the time lapse there, you just saw me actually completing the Yardage book course guide together. So I was slicing it with a guillotine, I was then folding up the pieces and then stapling those together to make the little booklet. So here is the finished booklet that we've completed. So you can see each of these pages was sliced down the centre there, and then we've stapled them together with a long arm stapler to give us our completed Yardage book with each of the holes in for the golf club of your choice. And that's how they look. So you can see this is hole number 7, just to give you a little example at Pleasanton. That's the top part of the fairway, which shows you the sort of hole layout, and then there's the green complex at the bottom with the different yardages for each part on the fairway that you want to put on. So that's the process of doing that. I just thought quickly, obviously it was a quick time lapse, so I just thought I'd quickly give you some tools that I used. So this was the long arm stapler that you used to staple the book together with. That's just a simple one from one of the stationery stores that you can find or get one online. I used one of these little devices, which is for rounding off the corners, just makes it a little bit neater. So you sort of stick the paper in this corner here and then you press it and it crimps the end off, a bit like a hole punch. And then finally I just used, again, a standard guillotine or a paper slicer that you can find in a stationery shop, just to get a nice clean cut on the paper there. I am a techie golfer, so I like techie stuff. I like using maps and software and things, so that's kind of why I got into this. Really got interested in it and started creating a few Yardage books, then making them better and better. And I take that round with me all the time, and I use it on every round to try and make my game a little bit better. So hopefully you found this video useful. So there you go, how to create a yardage book just like the pros have, so that you can take around the golf course with you. If you enjoyed this content, then I'd love you to subscribe to the channel. You can get more content that I produce in the future. And I'd love you to share this video. If you think it's going to be useful for someone, then please share it with them and let them have the knowledge, hopefully, from this video. And thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video shortly. Thank you.